We're live, I think.
Okay, so are you hearing me all right?
Let's check if you're live or not.
We will be. Yes, we are.
Are we?
Yes, we are. I'm checking. So you can hear me good.
I can.
So happy that we checked the sound before starting the stream.
No, that's not supposed to be.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about? Cocktails?
Yes, well, cheers. I know it's not a time for cocktails for most
Well, it
people.
is time for cocktails for us.
Yeah.
And we'll say it's always time for cocktails somewhere.
So here is 5 o'clock. Probably 5 o'clock in most places. Is the
In
sun okay?
every places that is for me, yes. For in all places that have GTM.
Yeah.
Well, I would say it's cocktail time in England, but it's always cocktail time in England.
Okay. Let's try it.
I tried it. It's bitter, but I think that's what happens when you do it with. This is fake Long Island iced tea.
Kind of fake, yeah. It contains iced tea as well, and not Coke. We don't like Coca-Cola, so we use
It
it.
makes it more. Makes it less sweet.
Okay, so let's start. Um, Of course, not many people watching. If someone is watching, I don't know. Maybe someone is watching.
We have one, but I don't know if it's counting myself because I open YouTube to see if it. But it was to see if we were live or not. People don't want cocktails in the morning. Well, let's. This is the new format for our uh, newly weekly news updates. I was going to
Yes.
change.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
This is an excuse to drink cocktails. That's why I call it cocktail hour. To drink cocktails on camera, at least.
Okay. So
So will the stream be as long as the Long Island iced tea?
I'm going to close this door. I'm having some feedback.
Yeah, you're hearing me echo. Let me do the same. Okay, Miguel. So what is new in the red room?
Well, so the latest news. Gothic is basically ready, but it is being proofread. So we're not going to release it during the weekend, but I'm expecting to release it during the week before Halloween, as this might be our Halloween release. It
Well,
depends.
it depends. I'm finishing my Halloween scenario almost in time for Halloween.
Yeah, so this should be that one should be the Halloween release, but we don't know if it will be ready or not. Still, we might have two Halloween releases.
Halloween after Halloween, that's even better. So
Yeah.
Halloween.
Well, I'm not expecting that anybody, even if people buy Gothic before the Halloween, there's a slim chance that someone will be running the game. A very slim possibility because, well, no one is going to buy it and run it at once. But yeah, that's it.
There's always Halloween next year for that, or Christmas.
Yeah, well,
Gothic is a good Christmas game.
and there's also yeah, ghost stories and all that. Ghost stories go well with Christmas, probably even better than with Halloween. And Gothic is supposed to be that. Um,
That's a good idea for for a Christmas scenario. So
ghost
something inspired in Scrooge, Christmas Carol.
So let's talk a little bit about Gothic before talking about other stuff. So what was behind Gothic's conception was uh, something that was lacking from our previous horror games, mainly Wretched Darkness and Dark, which are both kind of modern time settings, even though Wretched Darkness can be played in any kind of time. Dark is
Yes.
specifically in modern day, and when I say modern day, I say right now um, kind of game. Darkness can be played in any time, though it's, I would say,
80s,
better,
90s.
yeah, better for 18s, 90s, or even modern days. We also have Wretched Epoch, but Wretched Epoch is a different kind of creature. Gothic pretends to be something like the original Chill game, which was inspired, and it still is if you still play the first edition, inspired by classic horror and Hammer movies. So that was our inspiration for this one. Classic, when I say classic, I mean 19th century horror, which is the Gothic horror. And so in that category, we have ghost stories, and not really ghost stories, stuff by Bram Stoker, for example. And then uh, Hammer movies as well, and also Roger Corman movies, which were inspired by um, the classics by Poe. I forgot to mention, yeah, of obviously Poe as well.
Yes. Well, we were thinking about, yes, well, ghost stories. I would say not all Poe stories are ghost stories, even with when they are, it's not
Yeah,
really clear, right?
not
It's not
exactly,
obvious.
yeah, not exactly the same thing as those spooky houses and all that. So
So in
those are,
Gothic, you need to have a character or NPC inspired in Vincent Price. That
yeah,
will set the tone.
yeah. Vincent Price is basically inescapable inspiration as well, by himself, just by himself. So I think we should probably show some of the pics, though that's not really a thing we should do in when doing a live stream. But
Yes, but because there's nobody is, that's fine. We will do a video to show the insides of the book as we normally do, go chapter by
let's hope
chapter. But
someone is listening, even if not uh, chatting. So okay, Gothic. This cover is very
obvious. No, I'm joking. It's good. I
yes,
like it. But
uh,
yes, you have all the
real
the
vibe for me.
tropes.
Yeah, the old house, the guy
The god.
with a lantern. Yeah, kind of a god creatures, and behind him the bat, of course, the moon, and all that. So this is a and I was mentioning that this the cover is a work by Jeremy Hart.
Hello, we have Colin and Josh saying that they are listening. So we will.
Hello.
And good morning. At least for Josh, I think it's good morning. I'm not sure
Yes.
about
Well,
Colin, but I imagine it should be.
it's probably lunchtime, maybe. I don't know. I don't know where they are exactly. Well, I
For
know
us,
that
it's cocktail
in
hour.
Canada, I never remember. I think it's a 5 hour difference as well, but maybe I don't. I'm not sure. Um, okay, so
So the insides are black and white.
yes, this one is all black and white, except this little piece. But it will be black and white if we print it. In the introduction, basically, it's an explanation of the rules, which are in this case red, not uh, not wretched. So that means that you can play any kind of character. Yeah. Okay. So Josh's tool that is exactly this lunchtime, around lunchtime. So some explanation about the Gothic genre. which is not just horror, of course, but in this case,
Mhm.
we
Well, it
most
can also be a thriller
yeah, it
because
can.
it could be the things could not be. Well, I think one of the tropes on the what we call gothic novels is there really are no ghosts. It's just a crazy hysterical woman
Yeah, it could be as well.
imagining things, or her husband, or someone trying to make her. I know that there's something that we also see sometimes in giallos, in but yeah, that is can be a gothic trope, right? It's just a little woman. Get,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
probably more common in films that in novels that imitate the gothic genre without being actually from that time. I'm thinking, for example, Rebecca.
yeah. Well, that's gothic. That's the
Yes.
other kind of gothic, the gothic that is not really horror. It's kind of
So
blue.
normally it's not really ghosts; it's just more a psychological thriller.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Asterix, and we have Hysteria as a drawback in this game, of course, and only for women, women
That's
characters.
actually in what I remember in Poe's books, and even in some not book styles, and even in some characters from Lovecraft, they actually die. Well, or go crazy because they are having attacks of hysteria. Nothing is happening, but just oh my god.
Cal is asking if there's anything that we haven't. Okay, maybe we
Yes,
still have a couple of things that we haven't done yet. I think. Um, well, Mecca was one of those, and
yes,
that
but
will
Mac
be
is on the
done.
list. I was telling that too. Yes, that's actually in the list, but it's going
That's
to
one of,
be inspired in something biblical.
yeah. We still don't have any pirate game, even though Uncharted these can be a pirate game. We already have a samurai game, even though it's not named. Uh,
Yes, but it's a samurai game, right? I mean, Shambara is
yeah,
a samurai
Sambar is
game.
a samurai game. I don't know
We
if
don't have a game about lesbian swordswoman.
Mhm. That's not a genre, I think.
Okay,
But there's one thing as well that is still missing, but we are working on that. It's a kid game,
Oh yes.
something else that was still missing, and we'll talk about that after this. So those are the things that we are still missing.
Well, we don't have
The ones already.
how do they call the big animals like
Oh
what
yeah,
a
uh,
kaju or whatever. We don't have a kaju
Kaiju,
game, and we don't have a fairy game.
a furry game as well. Yeah,
Yes.
we did something with furries, but it wasn't furries exactly. Well, it could be played as a furry game, I guess. But those things we probably are not going to do. The furry game, at least, no, I don't think so.
No,
That's not our thing.
definitely not our thing.
Definitely not our thing. Should I show something else in Gothic? Well, I
Yes.
guess. Okay, so we have film references and lots of mentions to that part of the thing, and then character creation is basically the same thing as in Red, except it's specifically adapted to 19th century things. There's one major difference here. Uh, we divided the characters by class: upper middle class, upper class, working class. I think it
You're
makes
not going to play a working class on this game. Well, you can,
yeah,
but
you can, yeah.
you're not going to be a protagonist. I think that
It
should be
won't
one
be.
of the rules. Yes, if you are playing Gothic, you need to be middle class or upper middle
Oh,
class or
yes,
upper class.
you could
Working
play.
class, you're just going to be changing the pots.
There's usually some, for example, the caretaker, the butler. So those are NPCs in a common scenario. But you could play, for example, if you are playing something in a small town, small village, you can play one of the. You could even play all those characters instead of the guy who is coming to visit the village. You could play the village characters.
Mhm.
Possibilities. Anyway, the classes are there because NPCs will
Mhm.
be in different social classes. So they have different bonuses, more than usual bonuses to attributes and penalties as well. So an aristocracy character will have certain penalties and certain bonuses which are not the same as an lower class or a working class. The life path events are also different according to class, which makes sense. Then you have the usual archetypes for this kind of thing. So you have antiquarian, aristocrat, body snatcher, cocotte, conjurer. There are conjurers here, unlike our previous game, which is
Yes, of course, there are going to be contours here.
different.
Uh, can you highlight that comment from Josh? You can do rural Gothic, lot of bleed, and that's basically England. No, I keep joking about, but yes, when you see those films that take place in a village in England,
Mhm. Yeah, our
how is the marshes, or how they call it that, where does it's
moors
marshes, right? Moors, the moors, yes.
in the moors. Yes, there's lots of plot hooks in those kinds of places.
Now I
So
want to write a scenario for an adventure for Gothic. I'm going to be the Gothiest of the.
yeah, I think we should do a scenario for this. I think there's lots of inspirations. Of course, this is a genre that tends to repeat itself.
Yes, of
Obviously,
course.
this game is not for playing campaigns. It's for playing one shots. And when I say one shots, I mean two shots or three shots, whatever. So
Small, yes.
yeah,
Well, that's actually what
small.
we ended up playing, right? Because we play. There's not one shots. We cannot play a one shot, even at least with me
Yeah.
or you running.
No, we
Uh,
can't because we do kind of shorter sessions. We are playing online, so we don't do 4 hour sessions. We do at most 3 hour sessions. So we always end up, but then we start talking, and so
yes,
those
yes.
three
Also, but
hours.
I think it's also it goes with the well shorter campaigns, and then we go into the idea of seasons, as in a TV show.
Yeah. So I
I
would
guess
say,
10 probably would be the biggest number of sessions that we've had so far online.
yeah, that
And
that's not really that's a choice because we have to.
yes, yes, but it happens, for example, now that we're using darker rules, that the characters die. After
Yeah.
one or two,
Also,
so that is happening now that we are using darker, is that, yeah, the
uh,
characters, we are
yeah,
changing faster because the characters are
will die.
getting them doing stupid things and getting murdered.
But there's also when we played SandCloud
Mhm.
with SoundCloud characters, not visitors, which was the last example. It tended to go beyond the usual span of a horror game. We played more than 1 year. Every time I played SoundCloud,
Mhm.
we played for more than 1 year. Real time, not game time. In game time, it was less than a year. So there's different approaches and different kinds of settings and scenarios, but Gothic, I guess, because as Josh Peters mentions here, these are mostly short
Mhm.
stories,
Exactly.
so they work better as short term games, not campaigns, just adventures that can be run over several sessions, but never a campaign. So that's the spirit in here. I guess for chill is the same thing.
Mhm.
Though I never ran Chill, I know the game. I was running Call of Cthulhu, so I never had the need to change the system and play Chill. But it's basically they can be similar in that approach. Call of Cthulhu is also not really a game for long campaigns because characters will go crazy unless you just keep on changing characters and maintaining the story. But
I think that's going to be weird if you keep changing the characters in the same story. You're not really advancing, or you
yeah,
shouldn't.
I think it's well, maybe it's possible, but it depends. It depends on the setting and the scenario that you are playing. Maybe it could be. Red Epoch would be probably better for that. You could play
Mhm.
it longer because in that case there's a specific setting with villains that are identified in the book, so you could choose those villains and proceed.
Question for you.
For me,
Yes, for you. So, what would be the best game to play? Guess best game dash setting to play. Sort of Van Helsing. So, Gothic or Red Epoch?
mm, maybe I don't know. I would say that it's more in terms of setting, possibly Gothic. In terms of rules, maybe the other one, because it's more like pulp, and this one is a little
Hmm.
bit more realistic. So Josh says it's doable if the continuity is the patron. Yeah, like an
Hmm.
organization, recruiting people. Yeah. So there's that in. There's also that in Gothic. There's a. I created a English version of the Institut Parapsychologique. So there's
Isepo.
ISEPO, yes. Uh, there's a British version, a club, a gentleman's club that investigates the supernatural and the occult. So you could use that as a connection between stories. Exactly. So that's a possibility. You could do that with a faction. Yes. So probably, yeah, and I would say that is more for Ratchet because there's lots of factions, both good and bad, or at least possibly supportive of characters and antagonistic to characters. So that's more likely to happen to be prolonged in time. Gothic wasn't made for that, even though, as I said, there's a society which is basically a gentleman's club that are interested in the occult. Okay, I guess I can show a little bit more of the book. Eventually, we'll get there. I'm going to jump over the rules because they are basically the same thing. Well, of course, the perks and drawbacks are different. The especially the mental stuff was renamed. Two
To
names that
sound more Gothic. Well, I
the
not Gothic, but yes,
19th century.
yes, exactly.
The kind of lunacies were not exactly the same. And obviously, there are some things that make no sense in the 19th century. We kept the path of sin and virtue, which we've been using more for red games, even though you can use the sins and virtues still if you want to. Uh, this is a little bit different. It's more like a scale. Actually, it's not moral. It's exactly a scale for characters that it changes according to your actions and what happens in game. So you can go towards the sin or towards the virtue depending on your actions and depending also on the style of
Well,
character.
I think that in this sort of with this team should be very important.
With this, sorry, I didn't.
With this sort of team, with the Gothic, it should be very important. The path of virtue of the path of
Yeah,
sin,
yeah, makes more sense
because the
than
corruption of the soul.
at the same time as you are going insane, you have also the corruption of the soul as well, or not if you want to be a very well-behaved character. You can you can go towards the other level.
Yeah. Well, we could have I'm thinking about a scenario in which you'll be the peasant that ended up burning, of course, the the bad people at the castle, or the servants that are working for them.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, you can play gypsies working for the vampire. You can say gypsies. Yes, probably not.
Well, if
Rome,
they're working for a vampire, yes,
Rome.
the Roma.
Well, naturally, the gear section is also different, but not. We don't really need to go into that. Uh, combat, basically the same thing as usual. I'm going to. Okay, so there are some things that were used in the previous game, which is this thing here, which has infections as a large part of the damage and healing chapter, and infections and amputations, nasty things that can happen when you are in the past and you have wounds to take care of. Fear and Madness uses the same system, so you have fear points, and then when you get up to a point, which is uh, half your wit score, you'll have to roll a panic roll. There are some more rules here, but we talked about that before, so no need to go into that. Alchemy shows up again, even though in the 19th century it could be almost
It's a
almost.
crossover between alchemy and science.
Yes, it's a little bit different from the this one from Uncharted Seas. There, basically, alchemy is the science. In this case, the end of the 19th century, you have people interested in the occult, so alchemy still has a place in there, I think. So, but in a different style. So you're not a science guy anymore. Now you are an esoteric character. And then you have weird science. Not exactly steampunk here. It's not supposed to be. But if you want to use the game to play something, well, let's say Frankenstein is a gothic novel, and Frankenstein himself is a weird scientist. So weird science has, in that sense, it can be used in this game. Of course, this is all options if you want to play a different kind of game, for not for ghost stories, but
Well, Gothic is not just ghost stories. It's mostly ghost stories,
yeah,
but
it's not just that. So science going weird is also a possibility. Now, ritual magic is here again, but slightly different from the red core book, simplified. Senses contacting the other side, the spirits. This one is new. There wasn't mention to that in other games, and it's exactly the place where it should be because it's the time for seances. Mesmerism is something that we used before in Ratchet Epoch. It's the same time, so but it is a little bit more developed than in Ratchet Epoch. Okay, so let's go. This is the version, as I said. There's a
yep.
Reciep instead of Isepo. So this is the name of this is the Royal Society for the Investigation of Esoteric Phenomena. This one is the organization that you have here for your characters if you want to prolong the game from a one shot or two shot into something a little bit more developed, and then you have lots of pages for one shots and random tabs. I'm not going to show this ones, but okay. So you have
How
plot
many
hook.
pages?
So it starts. This starts in
No, how many pages total?
total 328. The plot hooks are all cliches. They are based in
Well,
stories.
they should be.
Yeah, they have to be. This is gothic. So you have all the usual stuff here, and then after this you have a series of tables for an adventure generator, and then other tables. I'm going to just browse it, so you see that you also have a bunch of tables that you can use for generating adventures, NPCs, their motivations, places, curses, and all that. Then this is the ending, so a small chronology of fiction, and then the character sheet,
An
which,
awful character sheet.
as usual,
Yes.
all my character sheets are awful. This one is readable. I guess.
Mhm.
And I like
Yeah, I
the
don't think people can
background
complain about that.
and the map, a map of London.
Yes, of
Because in
course.
this case,
Yes.
this is not Ratchet Epoch. Ratchet Epoch was mostly about Paris and all that. Okay, so we have already shown, and maybe we'll not maybe we'll certainly will do something a video about
Mhm.
Gothic only
Just
when
so
it's
exotic.
released.
Mhm. Well, I can talk a bit about my maybe Halloween scenario, or I cannot believe it's no longer Halloween scenario.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me
I
just take a
thought too
sip.
much.
Oops.
I thought too much in this video, so I need a rest.
You
It's your
always talk too much. So this is a short adventure. It should be a one shot. The idea is, of course, that it's not going to happen so for it to be a Halloween game or a Halloween session. So the story is about a haunted hotel or a supposedly haunted hotel and a group of urban explorers that go and we are not playing it because uh, it's very we could be playing it because then I'm running and I was like, oh, I could run this that I'm playing because we recently played something run by Jed that was a bit of a similar story. So it was a group of urban explorers, vloggers that were investigating or doing a film on an abandoned hospital. Mine is an abandoned hotel. So just to say that I was not copying
yeah.
Judge, not on purpose. It was an accident. I had an idea, and this is what I'm calling. So the adventure is going to be called a Hollow Man. Of course, it's a play of words into Halloween or an attempt to do that. And I had an idea some time ago to do something that would be similar or would remind us of Candyman.
Hmm.
So not a black guy with a hook on his hand, but a mystery figures that appears. And one of the things that, well, I like Candyman a lot, the original one, and also the short story. I think they are different, but like Hellraiser's heart, they are complementary. Like Hellbound Heart and Hellraiser, although they are very different, they are complementary. One thing that I came to mind is the idea of the mural that evokes something. So there, it is in both in the film and the short story. Though I don't think the stories are exactly the same because one takes place in the UK and the other it's in the US.
Oh, good news. That would be
Yay!
that would be cool. I would like to have some.
Yay! Red, we are winning at something.
Yeah,
Yay!
finally running at something. And if you are starting the game, you can also use this whatever you are going to run as an entry to our uh,
Yes, Christmas jam,
Christmas jam. Yeah, or
holidays jam. Sorry.
holidays jam. Yeah.
So, what I was talking about, yes, the scenario. I ended up deciding because this was a short scenario, supposed to be a one shot. It was not a good idea to make it taking place in some a place that was inhabited. So the hunted the abandoned location, and that's when I started stealing or not stealing, but over lapping on Judd's idea. So it's an abandoned hotel. Kinda some inspirations for The Shining are going to be there. I think incidentally also some inspirations from Silent Hill. If you remember the film that we watched, Silent Hill, that there was a part that was an hotel there, and there was a ritual that had taken place on the hotel that started all of this. So I don't want to talk too much, but it's a match of a mesh of these things, mostly Candyman, The Shining, and that eerie feeling that you get from abandoned places.
Yeah,
I
for
used to have a lot of fun when I went taking pictures on abandoned places, and I got home full of shit on my shoes. Not literally.
yeah, that was very funny.
So that was the idea of using an abandoned, also to use an abandoned building to take my scary, well, not really scary, but experience with urbex. So I'm finishing it. I'm wrapping it up, just reviewing and doing a final edit, and I hope I'll finish it tomorrow, so Miguel can edit.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I actually had another idea. I have a list of ideas of things I will never do because I don't have time. I wanted to do an adventure, probably for Interbellum, that would be inspired on Silent Hill. The idea of that city that is destroyed and exists on the two realities, right? In the real world is
an
abandoned.
interval would be a different time, of course.
Yes, it will be a different time. But that
Very
idea of the two realities existing at the same time, one when there are monsters and it's actually where the people are, in the other city that is abandoned.
okay. I guess we can start talking a little bit, giving some hints about what's going to be our next thing. Well, it has already started. I, as you have probably seen, Gothic has been ready for some time. So I've since then I've started
But you've
working.
waited and you've kept it in the drawer so people don't get nervous. Oh,
Yes,
why do you publish so much?
I'm not publishing that much now.
Yeah, no, you're not.
So the next thing now it has a name. It will be called The End of Innocence. Judd has made the suggestion. I don't. It wasn't exactly the
You
end of
thought,
innocence.
no, it was the loss of innocence or something like that, but then it changed to the end.
The end of innocence, and this will be a kid game. Um,
Not a game for kids.
Not necessarily, even though it could. I think that it could be if I was running it and if I had kids old enough to play this kind of game, I think it would be interesting for a Gen Xer or even a millennial
Mhm.
to run the game for the kids, and because it's what why is not a kid game? Because it's not supposed to be in place right now, or at least not in the last years. It's supposed to be taking place during our own not our own childhood, but in the time of our childhood. So that means it will be a game that takes place between the 70s and the early 90s. That's the span of the Gen X and the early millennial childhoods, and so it's supposed to be a nostalgic
Mhm.
game. The kids by themselves would probably not understand that. So, but if the game master is older, yeah, I guess it could be he could explain how were things during their childhood. So that's the plan here. So obviously it's meant to be played by adults, but if you can play by adults playing young characters, but you could also an adult could also run it for young kids. Well, unless you are just using the rules and not
Mhm.
the rest of the game, and then in that case, still it would be maybe a little bit complicated for kids, at least for kids, maybe
Sorry.
for. But I'm not expecting to sell the game to teenagers, so that's not really our purpose. The purpose is to be played by adults, even if the adults are running the game for kids. So, what is the idea behind? I think you should answer this question because the idea is yours. What's the idea behind the end of innocence?
Well, the idea is to play of course is to play the nostalgia, to play on the nostalgia, so our childhood as we remember, and all those adventures that we had in our childhood. Well, some of them were not really adventures, right, because we are normal people, we're not characters of
Yeah,
the film, but all the ones that we played in our head, and when we were making when we were playing pretend, or when we were watching films. So it's basically that, and it's the loss of innocence because we decided it's not really a kids game, so we should be like the last summer of childhood. So the
yeah,
characters are between being kids and being teenagers, because that way you can play well. For a game with teenagers, it's not going to be exactly the same that the game with smaller kids.
yeah.
It's in between.
In this case, we don't really playing actually kids like 8 years or 7 years. That's not really
Well,
interesting.
it's a game about the time when you could play in the street
Yeah, exactly.
and
So I guess
outdoors,
most kids games
and
are
nobody, yes, and nobody would be worried. You could spend your
like,
entire day outside,
yeah,
and
you could
nobody would. Oh my God, she was
riding
killed.
your bike and
Yes,
doing stuff um, all around. It depends. Of course, if you
playing
work,
hide and seek in the outside at night in the summer. That's actually something that I did a lot. Which, if you think about it today, after dinner in the summers, we would go out and play in the street and play mostly hide and seek in my neighborhood. That was a small, closed, enclosed neighborhood. And I'll try to explain this to people because I think it gives So the neighborhood where I grew,
it's quite.
it's basically a valley. So you only have two exits. There are two streets, one coming in from one side and one coming out, or vice versa. And it's close to the airport. It's
Mhm.
really close to the
Close
airport, the
to the
Lisbon airport. Yes, so you have a fence that separates the neighborhood from the airport. So you cannot cross it because if you cross it, you're going to be and you can be
the place where the planes
yes the
arrive.
landing.
It's not really close. There's a
Yes,
large.
there's a big well yes, but for my grandmother house that was close to the fence, there was a street or a road there that the airplane sometimes took, not when they were about to land, but when they were just rerouting.
Mhm.
So it is close. It's almost on top of the airport. So it was a very small and isolated place, and of course, it was easy for us to go out on the street. Nobody cared because we wouldn't go out of. And on the other side, you have warehouses. So you have buildings, you have airports, you have the airport, and you have some warehouses.
My own experience is probably a little bit closer to what.
Yes, mine is very urban.
Yes. So I am a city guy and I'm a city boy. But when I was 9 years old, my grandparents purchased a very tiny house outside Lisbon in a place that was like a pocket of rural uh, rurality, very close to the city. But at the time, that was very undeveloped. So there were woods around it, and that was the place where I spent all my summer vacations between 9 and maybe 16, or it's more than that, 17 probably, and even on the weekends. So when I was there, me and the guys that lived nearby, we would be going around in our bikes, exploring the area, and it was an interesting place because basically those were woods around it. But during the 70s, they planned to do an urbanization in that place, and they started to do some stuff. Uh, so in the middle of the woods, there were abandoned small buildings and
Manholes.
manholes because they started doing the manholes and probably I don't know if there were what's it called, sewage behind that. I don't know, probably. We never got into that, but probably not. But maybe it's just the manholes and the so it was a little bit strange, and that there was some abandoned stuff, and then it was kind of interesting to explore all that area. And I have fond memories of those times, so it was interesting. Okay, so that's the spirit here. Playing kids in small towns, of course. In the book, the small towns will be in the US, not in Portugal, obviously. Also, we had some other inspirations that are not the same time, but
Mhm.
they are kind of timeless. So Ray Bradbury's several books, not just one. So we have something this way comes,
That
um,
did
the
line.
Blue in Wine, and there's another one. It's Autumn something. I can remember.
Mhm.
I guess those things were about Bradbury's childhood. I think in the 30s.
So it's not in our.
Yes, but in spite of that, the spirit of that, I think the
But it's something that is interesting. And when you were talking, I was thinking that in my childhood in the city, uh, although my place where I live, my neighborhood was not really well because it was so small and it was not really in the center of the city. But even when I was in the city, in my primary school, or in we were always trying to run away to the place where that looked like the country. That was the wildest place. In my primary school, there was some hills, small hills around it, and we called it. Nobody liked us first to go play there, but well, it's not really hills. And I go there now because my nieces are in that school, and they're like, "Oh, these are really short. Why we call it the hills?" It was like, "Oh, we're gonna play in the hills," and
that's
nobody liked for us to go to and play there. But the kids will always go there. In the place that I was in the afternoon, I don't know what is there's a word for it in English, but here in Portugal, when you are not on school, you have something that you are in the afternoon. It's like a free time, so it's after school, and so there was a big space with nothing, and we'd love to play there. When there you had the cards, how do you call it? Como é que diz cards em inglês?
uh,
You just had the wildflowers. So in the summer, when the foliage was really deep and it was bigger than you, and we just left to go there, and we were not supposed to go there, but whenever we could escape and we would go play.
uh,
So that gives me to an interesting.
thistles.
Yes, yeah, that was the terrain really the thick with thistles, and we would just love to go
Not
there, even if we could get. I'm not gonna say. Picard, so we could harm ourselves well, just a little bit.
maybe not stunk. Just well, I don't know. Hurt.
Yes, thank. Yeah, like
Uh,
Sleeping Beauty.
so that's something that
Kids always, but that's something that kids probably lost today.
exactly the. So, for example, we have the stories like the famous five, where they are
Hmm.
really going against thieves or
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
But also the things that happen in the mind of the kids that aren't quite mysteries. But then you find something strange in the neighborhood, and
And
you're going
it's
to
not exactly. It's not really a
it's not,
mystery, but for you, it becomes a mystery.
exactly. So this one, this game will be full of plot hooks, and some of them will be actual stuff happening. Some of it's supernatural because this is well, we are doing it, so it has to be some supernatural or paranormal. But a lot of it is just make believe.
Hmm.
Maybe you can call it make believe, not actually something. The supernatural helps in there because it can be supernatural or it can be just strange.
Hmm. Or we can just be exactly. So maybe it's not supernatural, but the kids,
Yeah,
the players in this case,
the
the
idea,
characters think
yeah.
it's supernatural.
So you can investigate something, just just not to make it that boring thing that we kids are always having thieves and all that to
Hmm.
fight against. I think that gets old very quickly. Probably the supernatural stuff that can be supernatural or just easily explained is probably better for this kind of thing. When we were kids, there was a collection that was never ending. It was inspired. It was a Portuguese thing, inspired by the famous Five and the Seven and all that those kind of
It was
things.
called an adventure.
And it was really, really boring after a while because they were always
I read all of them, but yes, they were going against international gangs of thieves in the end, and they didn't grow. Or they grew very slowly.
yeah.
Every time they went on holidays, something happened, or even not when they're not going on holidays.
They had lots of holidays because they they spent I don't know 40 books or something investigating stuff. So I think the supernatural probably works better for this kind
Mhm.
of because it can be actual supernatural or not.
Mark Mar Hackman says crawling through a sewer following a mystery internet cable would be amusing.
Well, now this is you can do that, but of course, where we are placing this game, there will be no
Yeah, there
internet.
will be no internet.
Uh, well, at the end of the thing might be, but in the beginning, not really a thing. Okay, so uh, let's give some more hints about this. There's another thing that we used as inspiration that we watched recently. You probably don't know it, but you can watch it if you want. It's called in
Verano
English.
Azul.
Yeah, we can translate it in English as Blue Summer. It's a Spanish TV show from the late 70s, I think, or the early 80s. In the original, it's called Verano Azul. You can watch Verano Azul in Tubi. I think it's still there, and I believe it has subtitles, but I'm not really sure, and I cannot check it now because I would have to connect the VPN. We
And
can't.
you disconnect this. Yes, but there was not nothing supernatural in it. Was about kids on summer
No,
holiday.
but it wasn't also always about thieves and all that. I'm going to
No, most of it was about things that they imagined that could happen.
see you later. I'm going to paste here and I'm going to show this because I love this. I love this intro. Really, this is for me. When I watched this, I was a kid, so
Yeah, when I watched it as a kid, I was too young and I didn't because I didn't understand Spanish and I thought it was boring.
I was the same age as the small kids in the show. So I'm going to share the screen and show this.
Let me see if there's sound. I will let you know. Yeah, there's sound.
Oh, habéis visto?
Oh, there's a guy talking about it.
I wasn't expecting the guy talking. Okay, so well, this was a little bit. Maybe I can find.
Yeah, Verano Azul intro.
Yes.
And this is why nobody buys our stuff. Oh, we're going to make a kids game. Oh, based on a Spanish. Oh, God.
mistériojuvenil.com.
No, no, yeah, but this one will.
Ah, this one will be, yeah.
Okay, now what's the first episode? We're not going to watch.
Intro. I was going to say one thing that is interesting about, well, first the kids spend their summer with an old fisherman named Shankete and that lady that
Yeah.
created. Nobody, and the
Yeah.
parents are always in the beach. They don't give a damn about what the kids are doing.
Well, that was very Gen X.
Yes.
That was what parents did at the time. Go and play with your friends.
Yeah, don't
Oh,
bother
there's an
me.
old
Don't play
man
with
there.
your friends. My friend is an old fisherman. Oh, that's okay. Go play with the old fisherman.
Yes, this is like a
Yeah.
show from the late 70s. Yes, and I watched it at the time, maybe 1 year later, perhaps, because things here came a little bit later, and this is Spanish, of course. So this was one of the inspirations, but I translated it not exactly There's a so there are two in this setting for this game. There are two places. One of the places is partly inspired by this, but it is in the US. So it's
It's a
I would
city
say
close to
this
summer
is
city, I
like
would say, with
yeah,
beaches
it's
and that.
like it's kind of like Saint Cloud, but in a different place. So not in the upper
Lynch
west
Bay,
side, not in
closer
the upper
to.
west side, but more probably on the lower west side. Um, so it's a small town that has a bit of woods, and it also has a beach, and the characters are all there, and yeah, it was yeah, this show was fun. Yeah, interesting. But
Because I think in that time when there was no, when I guess in the 70s where it premiered, when there was almost no shows about kids, and
mhm.
especially not, I imagine not in Spain and not in Portugal, it was a big hit and people talk about it for here and in, I imagine
Oh
also in Spain,
yeah,
for
it
it was a huge success because there was nothing else.
it was a big hit in Portugal, and even I know that some people that I know that were a little bit older than I was also watched it. Well, because also there were the young kids, but also the teenagers. So
Mhm.
the Xers that were older than me, that are older than me, watched it as well. It mixed. In this case, it mixed a little bit kids with teenagers. So there will be a an American city that is close to the ocean. So there's a beach, but there's also a bit of woods and mountains and all that. It's kind of a sun cloud, but not
Well,
exactly.
SoundCloud could be a good setting for this, but that already exists, and you cannot.
Yeah,
You don't want to throw kids in Sun. We know what happens to
no,
kids
it's
in
not sun
SoundCloud.
cloud in the same.
Mhm.
It's a city that is a town that is similar in terms of geographic area, similar to Sun Cloud, though it's in the south, not in the north. Uh, Obviously, the themes are different, though there's some supernatural there, but not the weirdness of St. Cloud. So that's the one of the cities or the towns where you can play it. The other one is very much so. This we decided to divide this in two, um,
Locations,
not just locations,
not just
locations,
locations, two teams.
seasons,
Yes,
seasons
yes,
as well, and
seasons. Yes,
themes. So
it's
there's the
summer and autumn. Yes,
There's the summer town and there's the autumn town. The summer town is inspired partly by this and partly by everything else that exists about preteens and teens. That's the kind of thing where the kind of adventures that involve uh, gangs and thieves and all that. Uh, but then there's the autumn town, and the autumn town should be played with slightly older characters because summer is over and we are playing a game that is supposed to be the end of childhood. So
so it
summer,
progresses from summer to autumn.
so
Yes,
that transition, you can start it in summer in the autumn town, but in the autumn town you will proceed into the time when they are already a little bit older, but things have changed because in they changed schools from primary, I think it's the name, to junior high. So that's the difference between the things, and then that makes the a difference in terms
if
of
it's in autumn, the school is starting.
yeah, the school is already starting. So you can use well the summer town is meant to be played just in the summer. The autumn town you can play it. You can start it in the summer, but then end it in the autumn. And the autumn town is obviously inspired by mostly by Ray Bradbury and all that nostalgic thing. Um, but obviously the Gen X nostalgia
Mhm.
uh, is present in both towns. As it takes place in the 70s or 80s or even the early 90s, you have all those things, all those
Early 90s. That's my.
early 90s. So you ride the bikes, you have the arcades, you have some. Maybe we play some games, some video games at home, but they are really just kind of rubbish. At the time, they were great. Of course, I started playing. Uh, I didn't have any Atari stuff, but I had the because that wasn't really popular here. But we had the 48K Spectrum. I don't know if I can call it a computer. Well, it was a computer, so that's where I played. So you can all have all those things and then the rest of the nostalgia. So the Goonies nostalgia and
Yeah,
the strange.
I will say. Well, I don't want to compare it. I say this is Stranger Kids without no Stranger Things without wokeness. So it's the kids on bikes nostalgia without the woke side.
Yeah, and definitely without one of the Sylvia recommended suggested this some time ago.
Hmm. But Miguel was like, "Yeah, no, I don't want to make a kids game. I don't want a game inspired. I don't want to do a gaming." So he's out of ideas. He's using the mind that he never wanted to do. I don't want to do a game inspiring the Lusiads. Okay, we'll do it. No, I'm
Well, we have
joking.
done
You
that.
know, I
But
was right. No.
those didn't belong in Ratchet, but now
Mhm.
that we have something to place them in. But then I was going to mention that a friend of ours that we might invite for a chat one of these days. A while ago, he told me this guy is not a role player, but he is a gamer. He plays video games. And some time ago, he was saying that he wanted to buy a role playing game to introduce his daughter and some of the friends to role playing games. And he asked for recommendations for role playing game for kids. And I had to tell them, okay, well, there's Kids on Bikes, and there's Grimm's game, which is called Forever Summer, and a couple of more. I can't remember the other ones. Uh, and he purchased, I think, Kids on Bikes, and he was looking at it and he said, "Oh, this is." He didn't say probably woke stuff there, but yeah, it was full of woke stuff, the safety tools and all that, and that's silly. Kids definitely kids will not need that to play a kids game. You don't need BDSM tools to play a kids game. That's just basically insane. You're not going to introduce sex or gore or something like that in a kids game. So what? Why the fuck are we going to introduce BDSM tools there? No, definitely not. So obviously in our game there will be none of that. That's up to the game master to
Mhm.
decide what is going to. Of course, I introduced here supernatural, but it's not sex demons or anything of that. Just
Although I would say, and I have one. Once I finish my Halloween scenario, I will write some plot hooks and some structured plot hooks, and probably for the older kids, for the teenagers, there could be a little hint there of the discovery of sex. I mean, at least the discovery of
yeah,
the
because
figure of that mysterious, attractive woman, because that can start a story by itself.
as we were mentioning, for example, Verano Azul, it spans different ages. So you can play kids, but you can also play.
And that, if I remember, at least on Mobile, there is a bit of the talk between the older kids that are start thinking about dating, and the
That
smaller
makes
kids
sense.
that are like, why are they acting stupid because of this? It makes no
That
sense.
might be fun as well, especially
Yes,
if played by adults. The kids wouldn't understand that part, but the adults
yes,
would.
playing by an adult, you can play that.
Yes, you could choose a different cat. So the older brother, for example, the older brother and the younger brother. Uh,
But yeah,
and
but I would think this
no,
is a
let's
game for you to relive your childhood in a cooler way than it
exactly.
actually
And
was.
no, let's face it. When I was a kid, I watched some shows because there were pretty women there. I love the Charlie's Angels and Wonder Woman because I wouldn't watch Wonder Woman because she's woke and fuck her. But Charlie's Angels, they were cool and they look nice. So that's why I watched it.
Okay, it lasted 1 hour.
We are almost yeah, we are almost finishing. Well, mine is a bit here. It's a cocktail hour, so it should be
Mhm. Mhm.
around 1 hour. Okay, so this is our next project that has already started.
That
Uh,
means it's almost finished.
that means
But
it's
it
also
still needs to wait for my part, and I'm lazy.
yes, so it will take some time and it probably will be edited. I think this one should be edited. I haven't, so I'm doing most of the work and I don't trust myself to do stuff about kids, so I'll have to have it edited by you and maybe someone else.
Mhm. Yeah,
I that's
I didn't
I
read
don't
Gothic
include
yet.
sex here, but I just think that someone else should take a
Yes.
look at it.
Well, I haven't finished Gothic yet. I haven't read Gothic yet. I'll try
You
to
don't
read it after, but I want to. I can find some typos even if it's. But I need to finish the Halloween scenario first.
Something else that we should talk about?
I don't think so. We don't want to start talking about plans in one
No,
very important thing. No, two very important things. First, until the 31, you can use the Halloween promo code. That is, I have
Red
no
Halloween.
idea. Red Halloween.
It's not. I have
Please
no idea.
use it and spend money.
Red. I'm not sure if I'm spelling it correctly. I think so. But, well, it's Red Halloween.
Red Halloween, exactly.
Yeah.
And second, don't forget about our holidays jam. That
Also, next Thursday, Halloween,
mhm.
we're going to have a live stream.
But you're going
With,
to have people.
not at night. It's your
Yes,
probably
it's
your
our night. Sorry.
afternoon. It's our night, but your afternoon.
Well,
So
we
you,
could do it a little bit later because it's a holiday for us on but it's not
yeah,
late enough for us to be
but
entertained. It's still
it
going to
is.
be
It's
soon
probably very
for the guys. Yeah.
earlier because maybe if you have kids or something, you'll have some stuff to do and all that. So probably during the afternoon, if you are working or something, you can just listen
The,
to it.
the plan is to talk about horror movies.
And perhaps also games.
Yes,
We have invited some people. I'm not going to say who we invited because I'm not really sure who is
who
going
will
to.
be able to join. So, but yeah, we
So
invited some people to talk with us.
some people that we know, and some of them play with us, and some of them don't, but are our friends in the social media space. Maybe we can invite someone else. Let's see. This can this the
Mhm,
restream can take I think 10 people. So
mhm. Yeah, you can always pop
10 times.
someone that appears in the chat can come and.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So it will be like something like that. So we will discuss movies and
Do you think I should prepare something like topics for if you have people to make questions about what's your favorite slasher movie? What's your yeah? I'll prepare some question topics for people
yeah,
to
we
discuss.
can do that. Yeah, we can do that. Though I guess if enough people will show up, we probably not.
The
Will
conversation will derange, but it's good. You can make some questions and
yeah.
get some conversation starters about horror. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. I guess I don't know.
I'm out. I'm all out. So we can.
Well, I
But yes,
guess
let's talk about the jam. So remember that you can write anything, well, literally anything, as long as it's wretched or
red
red. For our Halloween jam, the submission is until somewhere in December. That I don't remember. Miguel is going to. Miguel also doesn't remember.
15.
15. Okay, I know the winners will be
But
announced.
if we don't have enough stuff, we can just
Yes, of
postpone it.
course. The winners will be announced on the 6th of January. It's not going to be us deciding the winner, so we will have three judges: Shadow and Sun, Ryan David
I will
from
just
Nerd
check.
Cognito, yeah,
But yeah,
probably, and El Jaguar. So the three that said that they're going to do.
I think so. Yes. Though I'm not sure if I watched that one.
Jason X, that's Halloween. That's the
No, yeah,
H3 guy, right, Jason?
yeah, but I think he's mentioned. So he's talking about a 2001 movie, I believe.
Yeah, we didn't watch this one.
No, we didn't. But yeah, well, any of the Jason movies would count,
Mhm.
I guess. But I didn't watch that one in particular, so I'm not really sure. Probably.
And what was I going to say? Yes, that the winners will get prizes.
Yeah, so the first prize, I think it's $100.
Yes, in Amazon voucher. The other one is 50, and there's a third prize that you can just pick a charity and we'll donate $50 to it because it's the holiday, so it's a season of giving.
Yes.
And we'll publish all the entries in a free Ratchet verse, except
Unless
if
you don't want it,
some
so
people want to sell it
you can do that,
by
and then
themselves.
we will not include it
Yes.
in the free release, and then you can just sell it somewhere else, or in the Red Room if you want to.
And
And
that's it.
I think that's it. Yeah, I'm all
Cheers. Yes.
not cheers because it's ended.
Yes. No, you cannot say cheers. And yes, you can say cheers.
Maybe I don't know. Okay, so our cocktail hour is over. 10 minutes later than the hour, so a little
Not
bit
bad.
more than an hour. Have a nice weekend, and we'll meet again next week.
We'll meet again. Na, na, na.
I
Sorry.
don't know where, I don't know when,
Don't know how. No, actually, yes. Next
but
Thursday.
next Thursday at your afternoon. I imagine it will be your afternoon, not theirs, and
Mhm.
our evening. And have fun and watch horror movies
Be
because
wretched.
this is the season for horror movies. Or you can be Ratchet or Red, but not in the commie version of Red. Just Red in terms
That's
of
what I be wretched. Forget the red because it can be misunderstood.
yeah. Okay,